Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you may be. I'm Sigma, and welcome back. Um, what we're seeing on the screen right now is where we left off in the previous stream, and today's stream is just going to be a pretty laid back one. Um, just going through some of the frames that we'll be painting. I'm hoping to get two of them done today. If we're lucky, maybe we'll go for three. But yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. So the next part of this video that I'm doing is related to stagnation. So the third question that I ask myself when setting a objective and key results for the team that I work on is how do we avoid stagnation? And I think that's just a topic that anybody should be asking themselves in life. And basically, just how do I keep growing as an individual? Um, this can apply to anything, just like me and my art. I'm trying to not stagnate as a artist by trying out new techniques, trying out different approaches to composition, learning about new things, and that way I can keep on bringing good quality content. Um, Same goes for my my day job as the experienced designer. I I'm just constantly looking at, okay, what is the industry doing? What can I be doing better as a designer, as an engineer, as a project manager? Just keep on thinking and taking the feedback that I get from my own work to keep growing. Because if you just let yourself stagnate and just don't focus on growing yourself as a person, then, well, you're not really going to get anywhere. And that's something I feel holds people back is that they just don't think about keeping their pace moving forward, trying out new things. Variety is the spice of life, as they say. So, um, for this particular one, since it's all about growth, why don't we do something that's growth related? And thinking about that, I actually went out to the store the other day and picked up some clematis. They're lovely flowers, and my parents used to have a grand old clematis wall at their place. Um, Unfortunately, that got taken down after a renovation project many years back. And so I miss that. It was a lovely shade of purple. Um, but these clematises that I picked up, clematises, clemati, I don't know, plural for clematis. I picked up six of them. Three of them are like a pinkish white, and three of them are red. And I think they'll look lovely. I'm planning on planting them by a chain link fence, and because well, I as much as I like metal, I just don't think it uh, serves a great visual purpose as it is right now. So let's do something floral, something green to liven up the space. So let's have at it. Gonna just start my new layer here and start off with the standard white and go ahead and hide that other layer. All right, compositioning. So just gonna switch to my outline here and to a pencil. So I mentioned before there's this thing called the rule of thirds used in photography, and I'm gonna try to apply that today. So I'm gonna roughly divide this into three, and then divide this horizontally into three. Okay, and it's not gonna be super interesting if I just did it as a straight on view. So how about um let's see. Um how about we make our vanishing point somewhere around there. Let's see, around here. So switch into my line tool. So do I want to put it here like so? Do I want to put it like here? I think that'll do. Gonna make another line and go roughly down here. Yeah. And then I'm not gonna just make a straight up fence as it is just running along here. I'm gonna interrupt it probably right around here. And around there. All right. So we got that first uh that first bit that we're looking at. And then so we got the fence. We probably should do something with this space down here. So pencil and have it roughly take up that much space here. And let's actually move this point over here. And go in a little bit. Um, something like down here, I think. That might be nice. And then we just close it off over here. And then we'll have our general scene, our general like trees and whatnot in the background here. And maybe another tree right here just to provide a little depth for the scene. So I think that's not too bad. So let's go ahead and block it out. Gonna make a new layer, bring this down, and then um, yep, new layer, and switch over to my general brush. Um, so let's put down a base layer. So we know we're coming up to here at least with the pathway. Then we're coming in a little bit. This is probably going to be like a gate right here. And then we'll have a little more fencing over here. Another ending fence over here. So let's see. Something like that. Oops. Wrong layer. Yeah, that'll do. All right. And I imagine there might be a change of material over here. So I'm gonna change that. Should I make it lighter or darker? It's probably gonna be a little darker because it's further away from us. So that's what I'm gonna do. And just for completion, I go down here where it connects, and that should do. All right. And then the bush that's going to be up here in general, that's going to be a little bit brighter than the rest of the scene because it's closer to us and usually closer to the light source. The light source in my scenario is coming from roughly here. Yeah, I realize that looks terrible, but I think it kind of gives you an idea because they can't just draw behind the camera, so to speak, here. But yeah, that's the rough idea. So this area is going to be a little lighter, and that probably should be good enough. Go ahead and block this in. All right. Make this lightly darker, and one of the things that I really like about clematis is that they produce a pretty dense bush and they'll take up quite a bit of room. So on this fence, I want to give that same kind of feel, but also just a little bit of trailing to it. Just that way it'll be interesting. So I'm thinking maybe a clump here and then a medium sized clump here and then a heavier clump over here. maybe add a little trailing bit, a little bit of a cross section here, a little bit of a trailing bit down here, something like that. And um, obviously, I want to draw the bends, but I don't want to. Um, I don't want to draw on top, so I'm gonna throw another layer on here and switch over to my gel brush. So in my mind, I wouldn't use the chain link fence for this particular scene. It's a little too out of place, I would think. So how about something like wrought iron? That might be nice. So I'm gonna make a heavy black line right around here. Um, I may actually do this in two separate layers, one on top and then one on bottom for like the prominent portion, or maybe not. It might look a little bit better once the sketch layers cleared out. Um, this part of the bill's definitely gonna get cleared by the fence. Yeah, something like that. Switching back to the brush. Now I'm gonna just decrease the size a little bit. And I would say this area right along here is probably gonna be sloping downwards, just given that we have a darker area over here. And so probably want it going upwards a little, like so. And then we may want a second layer down here. That's kind of a terrible turn off there. There we go. So you got your middle reinforcement and your bottom reinforcement, and the top is just going to be completely obscured by the foliage. And I add a little bit of extra on top while I'm at it. There. And I kind of like the idea of there being a bit of a separation. So, how about we make it, gonna add another layer on top so I can show you what I mean. So, rather than just straight across like this, I'm thinking something like that. That might be interesting, don't you think? All right. So, how would I put that into play here? I'm gonna make a long line and then progressively get shorter, and you're not able to see much of it. Oh, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to see much of it anyway because I was using the eraser, not a brush. Kind of important. Long, gradually getting shorter, and then getting longer again. But you can't really see much of it. I'm gonna erase just a tiny bit and add a little more here. There. That kind of does give that perch feel to it. I like it. Yeah, I'm gonna clear out a little bit more of the gray back here. That's not directly in front of the clematis. All right, I like that. Okay, so there'll probably be some more clematis over here, but let's make it interesting and have a second kind. So I'm gonna make this a little bit darker, and this one is probably gonna be fuller, even though there might still be a little bit of trailing, just because we can't see all of it through the foliage. All right, I think I'll do. And then back here, it's probably gonna be more sparse. That way, it could be used like a lookout point. I'll be fun to look out. Maybe a river way down in the distance. We won't be able to see it because of the tree and the camera angle. But let's draw it out some. So kind of a thick line here. That might be a little bit too dark. Something like this, maybe. Yeah. And wouldn't it be neat if it was made out of like um fallen logs or branches? Because I do have a ridiculous amount of branches in my backyard from the tree. I have a giant ash tree in my backyard and it just sheds like crazy. So I got branches all over the place to clear out. And I was thinking about converting some of those, just cut off straight bits and make a trellis for it for some tomatoes, maybe some grapes. It'll be fun. So it'll be something like this and this. And I think we could probably see the second one here. What's the shape again? I can't remember what it's called. Pylons? Yeah, I think that's it. All right, just erase a little bit here. let's take a look at how it looks without the sketch. Yeah, that's not looking too bad. All right, this bottom right here is gonna have to extend a little bit. Otherwise, we got pylons floating off into space, which would be super weird. Fill in the gaps a little. And it's gotta come up some to cover that second pylon. Yeah, that'll do. So if this is gonna be up, then we're probably gonna want to go down from here. So it'll be a little bit darker still, or actually a little lighter since it's coming back to us. I'm gonna add another layer so we don't get in the way of anything else. Yeah. Right. Let's add a little extra height to this guy right here. I like that. All right. And then we'll add another layer way in the back here for the more forestry. Um, Let me see here. Going off of our general principle, things getting darker towards the back is probably going to be somewhere around here. But just a slight bit darker. I'm going to make one structure here, and then another slightly darker structure in behind. Then it'll be a little bit lighter on this side. And more so down here. And the tree that I wanted to put in here, I'm not gonna make a full fledged foliage tree. It's gonna be pretty sparse, like a young cherry tree. I think that'll be nice. Add a little interest and a final kind of in between. That might be a little too close. And then for this area down here, that's going to be partially the clematis fence. So we'll have to add another bit of fencing down here. And we want to complete the gate over here. All right, I think I'll go ahead and add the tree that I've been talking about. Just a couple of strong leaders, and then smaller branches off of those. This guy coming out here, going on a little adventure. Couple bit of overlap just to give us some depth. I like that. Alrighty, let's go in with the detail work. Um, so the pathway. I'm thinking unpaved, maybe a little bit of wood chip mulch. We're coming from a more nature inspired area into a more human made area. So, like this right here would be that wood chip mulch, and then these would be standard like wooden planks as you would expect from a deck. And then down here might be, oh, let's say a paved path. I think that'll be nice. Let's add a little more weight over here. Alrighty. Make use of my lasso tool here to limit the damage that I can do. Texture brush. Actually, let's start off with the dots. Mix it up a little. And as people are walking, there's going to be a little bit of a impression into the ground, especially because it's a little softer. So um, let's apply a little bit of a wear and just making real light strokes. All right. And then we have to give it a little more a little bit more variety. So some bigger chunks. And I'm going to switch over to my Sumi brushes here because with any natural path, you're going to encounter some little weeds, and those are going to avoid the areas where there's been traffic. So there's not a whole lot of traffic right under the fences and towards the other bush here. All right, I think that's pretty good. Let's make another layer and shift our focus over here. Gonna tighten this up a little. All right, so this be pretty straight going along here. Um, let's take this color, switch back. Yeah, texture brush and darken this a bit. And don't worry about the overlaps as we're drawing out the details. We'll go ahead and cover up individual parts as we go. And there's naturally going to be a bit of a frame over here and one over here. That's not too bad. Okay, let's get this bush here. Hmm, how should we make it? Should we make it a dense foliage? Should we make it pretty light? Maybe somewhere in between. So I'm going to use the lasso tool again here. Give it a little bit of depth. And then we're probably going to have some exposed branches. Maybe if we consider the way that people walk from here, This is probably going to be something like going from down here, like so. So right around here is probably where we're going to see some wear on the bushes. Something like that. Alrighty. Start making some little kind of petal like shapes. And I'm not using a stamp to do all of this. Just one it's kind of nice to do things by hand. And two, it um allows you to impart a little bit of your own style in doing things by hand. But if you're doing like production work, like big time industry work, I would not recommend taking the long route to doing things unless, of course, you're like vanilla ware, because by default, pretty much everything is a long way with them. They do some amazing work, I tell ya. I love to someday get into their office and see how they do things. It's quite beautiful. Um, the gel blow that I'm going for here, kind of like swooping this way. So I'm just introducing a little variation. Alrighty, bring this down. Pen clicking ASMR right now. It'll flatten a little bit more towards the top here. That's weird. Right. That's not too bad. And naturally, as we um, apply the blur tool down the line, we're going to blend that a little bit and make the gradations a little smoother. Alrighty. Let's move on to the clomatises over here. And we're just going to basically do the same thing. Provide a little bit of a zone where there may be greater concentrations of the foliage. This is probably going to be fairly light. All right, going for a waterfall like low. So kind of treating this line right here as our midpoint, and then everything just kind of cascades off of that. Alrighty, a little variation for interest. Just adding little bits of density in the same areas that I concentrated my foliage on. All right, that's not too looking too bad. So this is just the foliage. Um, we're not gonna put the clematis on the same layer here. That way we don't accidentally pick them up in the blur tool because the clematises will sit on top of the foliage. Now with clematises, they tend to be the same regardless of size. And so you're gonna get a pretty uniform color across those flowers. The exception to that would be if you're mixing different flowers, like kind of like what I'm doing with my own garden. I'm mixing I think they call it Nosy Mouser and Niobe, the pink and white flowers and the red ones. I'm gonna mix them to a degree, but they're not gonna be a completely uniform mix. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit here and shrink the size. Oh yes, I'm adding quite a bit of detail here. They're still fairly big picture details. I'm not gonna get super granular, like drawing the individual stamens and whatnot of the flowers because this is gonna be a YouTube video, and so there's not much sense in going super granular unless they're doing a close up, um, which I'm clearly not doing here. Okay, despite what I said about clematis being generally around the same color, I'm gonna cheat a little bit just to give it some depth. Mm-hmm. It's not looking too bad. All right, that'll do. Okay, another layer, And I'm gonna do this back here. I'm gonna tuck this guy down a couple of layers so they don't overlap. Add a little depth. Alrighty. And back to the brush. So, generally speaking, the further away the subject is from a camera, the less detail that you're going to be able to see. So, I'm going to carry that to heart here and be more like regions of brushes. Again, kind of going with the whole overall flow. We're going along this line here. Everything on this side is going to flow over this way, and then everything over on that side is headed that way. All right, now another layer on top of that for the clematises. I'm going to make this a brighter color one. And again, further away, so it's going to appear more like a mass instead of very distinct individual flowers. And I'm going to just introduce a little bit of depth just by virtue of the slight differences in opacity because I'm using a graphics tablet, and so there's some pressure sensitivity on this particular brush. It's going to be denser towards the top than it is towards the bottom by virtue of there being less foliage. Um, the clematis is very interesting because I think there's a certain principle behind how they choose to populate the flower buds. I think it's like they they only go like 6 inches or something in between each individual strand, and so as the strands get longer, you're gonna have less of them showing up, and therefore less flower buds. It's interesting. Just love nature, you know. Mm-hmm. Alrighty. How does that look? Looks pretty good. Alrighty. Now another layer. Let's take care of this tree here. I'm thinking hmm, maybe more of a standard ash type of tree. So we're gonna have some broader leaves on this one. And again, the camera's further away from this tree, so we're not gonna get into a a great amount of detail. But there will be a little bit of density variation with the leaves and a little bit of color variation while we're at it. Throw some darker ones in there. Yeah, that'll do. And then for this one here, it's going to be like a pine. So it'll be a good time to switch to the semi brushes. And I'm going to make brighter dressing streaks. And with pines, I have one in the front yard. But one thing that I did notice about the pines that I've seen is that they tend to be very ring centric. And so as you're applying the different layers, you're going to see kind of bands with the tree itself. So that's where the variation should be focused, allowing some of that sort of emptiness to come through in between the bands. Hmm. I like that. Um, mm, this one, I want it to be something in between the gentle foliage of this one and the stringier foliage of this one. I can't think of the name of the tree, but I know exactly what I'm talking about. Um, I'm gonna still use the semi brushes, but rather than just make singular strokes, I'm gonna make branching strokes. So that's a little bit too um, detailed. Yeah, that's a little better. Mm-hmm. Kind of looks like a yak, but it is what it is. The words of wisdom is that the blur tool soul. All right, and then for this is more like a cherry tree. So it'll be focused on smaller petals, and I'm actually going to use the dots here. And instead of applying it broadly like I usually do, I'm going to apply it on a smaller scale. Zoom in a little. Okay, that might be a little bit too small. Nah. Okay, forget that. We'll use the gel brush. Just little balls of flowers on here. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We'll add a little variation in just a bit. Some brighter spots. I do sincerely hope that anybody watching this is enjoying themselves because I sure am. Just fun to take a little time and just paint. just like Bob Ross, just joy of painting. Takes your mind off the world's worries. All right, and I was originally gonna do a little tree behind this one, but I might just leave it to be a little big, kind of like a mountain. So I'm gonna bring that as far back as I can, something like that, and use my lasso tool to give it a little definition. That might be a little bit too far forward, too far back. There we go. And a little bit of color. That's looking kind of nice. Just take a look. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This area right here, I am not so sure about. I am gonna just erase it and let the white show through. Oh yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Gonna fill in the gap down here. All right, let's do a little cleanup work. Mm-hmm. Last piece, getting these pylons straightened out. Gonna do the same thing that I did with the mountain to give a little texture to these pylons. I like using the lasso tool for this particular type of texturing just because it completes itself. So you don't have to worry too much about like getting the exact strokes right as you would with the standard brush. All right, and then apply some black ties around here. So I think typically it's strapped over like this, and then got a little bit of a strap over here, and then a little bit of a strap over here. Yeah, that's looking good. So strap over here. Okay, strap over this leg here. Strap over this leg here. Rounding strap. And then just add a little bit of detail using this color, darkening it a little. Um, yeah. One thing that I picked up while I was trying to learn how to do painting is that you actually don't want to try to do straight up black or um, if so straight up black is fine if you're doing line art, but if you're intending for a more painterly style with the painted line art, then what I actually would do is take the color of the area immediately next to it and then just darken it a little bit. That way it doesn't look so harsh. It just blends in a little bit better. Some people also do it the opposite direction where um, they they paint the lines that they want to use and then allow the over painting to kind of blend in because of the opacity. Either way is valid. It's whatever you feel most comfortable with. That's what you should do. I like applying it this way because then I get a little bit of the shadows texture I was looking for. Give it just a little bit of volume. Yeah. So for this, and in my methodology, I'll reverse the direction if I'm going um dark. And so this is relatively dark, so I'm gonna lighten it up and use that as my line. Just add little bits of detail as we go. Alrighty. Ooh, it's already been an hour and a half. Okay, I'm gonna hit this guy with the blur, and I guess we'll just call it a day. So make sure I'm on the right thing here. And I'm specifically using the fingertip so it's raking the texture instead of full on blending it. That allows me to get a little bit of a flow feeling while doing the blending that I intended to do. Okay, and just a quick, a little bit too much there. And then just a tiny bit of erasing, just to give some bit of texture to it. All right, see, that should be fine. That's fine. This one, yeah, fingertip to kind of drag them blending out. Alrighty, just keep playing around with different things here and there. See what's interesting. Okay, big clematis. Definitely want to rake those. That's fine. Trying to find the right layer to work on. Mm-hmm. Let's try to blend this region a little better. Oh, I see us. All right, we can move on, but I'm gonna end this stream for today. So thanks everybody for coming and watching me work, and we'll just pick up where we left off on the next frame. Thank you.